Once again, we are looking at another Kamala Harris and Joe Biden failure, and it seems like every single week that list just keeps getting taller and taller and taller. I'm not exactly sure how these clowns got into the presidency to begin with, because you got to remember, Joe Biden was a president, a man who ran for president twice before and failed miserably. And then all of a sudden, he campaigns from the basement and becomes our president. And I'm going to say amid questionable things that put him into the presidency. Because let's be honest, there's no way in the world that Joe Biden got more votes than the liberal god Barack Obama by winning less counties. How does that even make sense? That doesn't even add up. But regardless of that, after they pulled their amazing coup, because, they support that democracy, supporting that democracy by kicking the dude that the liberals literally voted for, 14 million votes, I believe he got, to be the candidate. And then when they figured out they were losing, of course, everybody knows the story. They kicked him to the curb. And the only reason they did not kick Kamala Harris to the curb is simply because they could not pull a coup on Biden, plus get rid of the worst vice president in the history of America. And I did a video about that. My last video was actually about how bad of a vice president she actually is. But regardless of all that, once again, Harris and Biden step up to the plate, swing and a miss. Thank God we don't have any ballparks named after them. Nobody would play there. But, as you know, the dock workers they went on strike. They went on strike. They are officially on strike. All talks are over. Now, think about this for a minute. We have just come out of one of the worst periods in American history. And I don't want to hear, and one of the arguments the liberals love to use, well, man, the stock market's putting up record highs, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Fantastic. Considering 10 to 15 stocks completely make up the value of the stock market, the rest of them just kind of twiddle along. And considering that the average American does not own stock in those 10 or 15 stocks. So what good does that help the middle class? Because if they owned 8 million shares of Apple, they're no longer middle class. They are now wealthy, and good for them. Good for them. I'm happy for them. But just because the stock market is doing great does not mean America is doing great. And that is just one of the things that just drives me crazy about the liberals. They literally have no argument except the stock market is doing great. Fantastic. Food costs 30% more. Right now, our energy, our electricity costs, and our gas costs for our house went up again. It is going up 2 and 3 times a year right now. We are paying record prices for energy right now, still paying almost $1 more for gas than we did under the last guy. Our overall inflation is still sitting at 15%. I mean, it's crazy what's going on right now, but their argument is, well, the stock market's doing great. Well, fantastic. People are still going broke. Still going broke, even though your stock market, whom chances are you don't own stock in, is doing great. But what we cannot afford right now is for these dock workers to go on strike. We are coming off of 9.5% inflation. The economy is still not back where it should be. Well, we got the best, fastest growing economy in America, in the world. Well, great. Okay, so then all the economies suck. So you're leading the group of suck. Does that make you great? It just makes you better than the guy that sucks more than you. That's all it does. But with coming down off the inflation, and yes, the inflation has come down quite a bit from Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's record high of 9.5%. Let's not forget that fact. And just before you liberals start saying, well, Donald Trump, it didn't happen until 2.5 years after Joe Biden took office. So let's be clear about that. It doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with Donald Trump. It is completely the failures of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that caused that 9.5% inflation, because they simply do not know how to run a country and an economy. And Joe Biden has proved that. And now we have cackling Kamala, literally the worst candidate in my lifetime to run for president. And now she thinks she's going to fix it. She was literally half the problem. But the dock workers are now officially on strike, which means all things being imported and all things being exported on the entire eastern seaboard have come to a stop. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of the products that you get that are coming in from other countries, they're no longer here. So when those products are gone, guess what? Two things are going to happen. Either they're going to be made in America to compensate for the loss of that product, which means the price is going to go up. There's going to be an infinite shortage of literally everything because people will panic. They will panic buy. I guarantee you, people are wiping out toilet paper rolls right now. Even if you get toilet paper, even if the manufacturer is in your state, they're wiping it out right now. And what's going to happen is this is going to cause inflation to go up again. All because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are complete failures at their job. So they're on strike. So let's break down exactly what's going on here. What they want, and this is ridiculous, and this is why I'm against unions. I understand how unions can protect an employee against certain things. I get that, and I get the leverage that they have, but they get to a point where they just simply go too far. So the average hourly wage of a union docker, union dock handler person, longshoreman, is $39 an hour. Okay, that's not a bad living. I don't care who you are, that's not a bad living. But now let's break down what they want. They want no automation. They want a $5 a year increase over the next 6 years. They want more time off, more benefits. I mean, it's getting insane. They are asking for the world, literally. They're not like, hey, meet us, give us this and we'll go back to work. They're like, give us everything and we'll go back to work. Well, this is where I stand on this. First off, if you're making $40 an hour, so over the next 6 years, you're going to go from $40 an hour to $70 an hour. That's what you're asking for, a $30 raise over the next 6 years? That is insane to me. That is ludicrous, and that should be shut down right out of, not happening. Not happening. I worked in surgery in a hospital. I spent years, we were saving lives. You know what my raise was every year? 3%. 3%. That's what it was. 3%. So you're making $25. Throw 3% on that. That's what your raise is for saving lives. 3%. That is the average increase of a hospital employee is a 1 to 3% raise. You never get 4 or 5%. That never happens in a hospital. You'll get 1 to 3%. The average is 3%. I got 3% every year. And we were saving lives. These guys are handling product. You're making $40 an hour, which is more than most people make in a hospital. I know nurses that only make $25 an hour, $30 an hour, and they're saving lives. They're making $40 an hour. They want a $30 raise over 6 years to $70 an hour. Not going to happen. Because what's going to happen then? And this is where I have my problems with unions. This is why you pay $95,000 for a $50,000 truck. Because at GM, I watched a documentary, and it was a little while back when I watched it. And don't hold me to this exact number, but I'm pretty damn sure they said 53 cents of every dollar they made went to the union. That's why cars are so insanely expensive right now. So if we got to basically double their salaries in the course of 6 years, what do you think that's going to do? Because when they double their salaries for the dock workers, well, now all of a sudden, the shippers, they've got to increase their cost. They're going to charge twice as much to bring that product over here, which means the seller is going to have to charge twice as much just for him to make the same margins. And here we go again. Inflation back through the roof. The cost of goods are going to skyrocket. And we cannot afford this in America right now. We are just coming off the devastation of COVID, the China flu, and Joe Biden's disastrous policies. We simply cannot afford this right now. And then you have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They come up, they pen a letter to Joe Biden urging him to invoke the Taft-Hartley Act, and he's not going to do it. Joe Biden says no. Joe Biden is going to let this happen. And what Joe Biden should do, if we had a real president, which we do not, and on the Democrat side, we don't even have a real president waiting in the wings. Kamala Harris is the furthest thing from a president I've ever seen in my life. She is a clown. This chick has been drunk for 4 years on the taxpayer's dime. Nobody acts like that. Nobody says the things that she says unless they're drunk, because she speaks incoherently. She can't answer a question. And when she tries to answer a question, she says something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know, if I have to hear the "let's unburden ourselves by what has been" speech one more time, I'm going to slam my face into a wall because it makes no sense. Nothing she says makes any sense. So, VP Harris, what are you going to do to bring prices down? You have to understand, I was raised a middle-class kid. Okay, what in the shit does that have anything to do with bringing prices down? Absolutely nothing, because she does not know. And she sure as hell has nowhere near the mental fortitude to handle what's going on right now with the dock strike. What needs to happen is we need to pull a Ron Reagan on these people. Remember when the flight controllers went on strike? Remember what Reagan did? Great. You're fired. You're out of here. Train all new people. Get them in there. That's what needs to happen. You know what? Fine. You want $70 an hour to do this job? You're fired. You're out of here. Joe Biden needs to put in the Taft-Hartley Act right now, because that will cause the workers to go back to work while they try to negotiate and handle a deal, or, whatever they can do to get back to the table. But that keeps the lines open. But Joe Biden says no, because once again, Joe Biden is making a completely boneheaded, stupid, unpresidential decision. The ramifications of these people going on strike is going to be felt all over the United States. This is going to drive prices sky high. Now, the good thing for us Republicans is this is happening on Cammie's watch. This is absolutely happening on Cammie's watch. And being the failure that she is, she's doing absolutely nothing to resolve it. Joe Biden could resolve this right now. He could actually be a president, invoke the act, get the people back to work coming into the holiday season. So we're not paying 2 and 3 times more for product that we might want to buy somebody we just might happen to love. Who knows? But once again, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and I'm going to start calling them the Where's Waldo administration, because that's what they are. They're the Where's Waldo administration. Where the hell are they? What are they doing? They're doing nothing as usual. And Joe Biden could solve this right now. Kamala Harris could solve this right now. Invoke the act, put the dock workers back to work. Because first off, they're working. They're getting paid their measly $40 an hour with their measly incredible benefits and their measly excessive time off. And yes, and now, let me back up for a minute. I know these guys work their asses off. I know they do. I know they work insane overtime. It is a demanding job. I get that. But you knew that when you signed up for it. That's like going to school to be a surgeon and then complaining that you're getting bloody. Kind of comes with the job. You knew that when you signed up for it. If you don't like it, leave. Go do something else. It's literally that simple. Millions of people do that every single day. Well, you know what? This isn't working out for me. I feel like I'm being treated unfairly, which chances are I'm probably not, but I feel that way, so I'm going to go do something else. They can do that, but they choose not to. They choose to strike and make America suffer, which is exactly what's going to happen. America is going to suffer. And you have to understand, this is what it's going to cost America. Let me find my numbers here. Bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. It is going to cost, okay, this is from JP Morgan. They estimated the daily cost of this port strike is going to cost between $3.8 billion and $4.5 billion per day. Per day. Think about that. Per day. That's what this is going to cost. Forget about the fact of what it's going to cost everybody else. And here we are going into the holiday seasons. And goods are going to come to a complete halt. If this strike goes on 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot out there for little Timmy under the Christmas tree. And if there is out there, and you want to get, as Eddie Murphy says, the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip that costs, in today's world, $50, well, now it's going to be $150. Because the Where's Waldo administration is once again MIA, missing in action. Joe Biden refuses to invoke the Taft-Hartley Act, which is going to absolutely destroy our economy that we're just now getting back on track from the last group of disasters from Biden and Harris.